Hey guys, Brad from simpleguitar.com here, and thanks for coming back to another video. Today I'm going to show you a really cool beginner warm-up exercise that I've played for years, and I've used it with lots of students, and it's really effective. Now why? Because when I get out of bed in the morning, I feel stiff and it's hard to move or bend at all, right? But after I've been up for a while and I've been moving, or I've done some stretching and stuff, moving is a whole lot easier because the blood's flowing and my muscles are loose, right? Your hands are the same way with the guitar. You want to warm up your fingers at least a little bit every single time that you play to get the blood flowing in your hand, and it's going to be a lot better for you. The problem is though, most guitar players, when they're doing warm-ups, they're doing the most boring thing in the world. Maybe you've seen stuff like this where you're going like this. Isn't that boring? Warm-ups like that, we call them the 1, 2, 3, 4 warm-up. They're boring. They don't happen in real music. They sound terrible. And so why waste your time doing something like that when you could be doing something that actually happens in real music? I mean, if you're advanced and you want to be a total nerd and be doing different combinations like that, you can go ahead and do that. Feel free. But for beginners just starting out, usually it's really boring and it's not musical. And it takes a lot of focus and energy to put into it to push yourself through a boring exercise like that. So I'd rather that you do something a little bit better. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this beginner warm-up exercise that I've played for years. I mean, we played this every day back in jazz band in high school, and I continued to do it for years because it works on multiple things at once. It works on my picking technique, my fretting hand technique, my fretboard knowledge, my music theory, all that stuff, all at once. And so what I've done is I actually put together a PDF of this exercise and put it at my website. If you go to simpleguitar.com/warmup, you can download that PDF of this whole exercise that I'm going to walk you through today, and you can use that every day. Just use it to warm up for a few minutes before you start really diving into your playing. Because here's the cool thing. It's not just going to exercise your hands. It's going to exercise your brain at the same time. So it's a double whammy. Now, rather than using boring things like 1, 2, 3, 4, what we're going to be doing is we are going to be using the major scale. Now, if you don't know the major scale at all, I'm going to show it to you really quick. We're only going to use 9 notes. So we're going to use, your first note is going to be the 8th fret on your 6th string. And we're going to do a 3-note per string pattern for this. Do you have to do a 3-note per string pattern for this? No. You could use a standard scale shape. Whatever you want to do, it's up to you, okay? But I'm going to show you 3-note per string because that's what I put in the PDF. And so it'd be weird if I showed you something different. So your first note of this 3-note per string major scale is your 8th fret on your 6th string, and use your first finger for that. Then we're going to use your 2nd finger on the 10th fret, and then your pinky on the 12th fret. Okay? Then we're going to change to the 5th string and play the exact same thing. You're going to use your first finger on 8, 2nd finger on 10, 3rd finger on 12, and then we're going to change strings to the 4th string and use your first finger on your 9th fret, and then your 2nd finger on the 10th fret still, and your pinky on the 12th fret. Then we're going to go backwards. So for the major scale, what we're doing is just this. This is in the key of C major because this first note I play is C, and I'm playing a major scale, and so it will sound like this. Okay, so that is the scale. That's the first part. Then what we're going to do is we're going to play the arpeggio of that scale. And if you've seen my video about what are arpeggios, you'll remember arpeggios are every other note of a scale. So I'm going to play the first note of the scale, which was my 8th fret on the 6th string. Then I'm going to skip over the 2nd note and play the 3rd note, which is the 12th fret on the 6th string. Then I'll skip over the 4th note and play the 5th, which is the 10th fret of the 5th string. And then I'll skip over the 6th and play the 7th, which is the 9th fret on my 4th string. and then I'll skip over the octave, which is the 10th fret. It's the same note that we started with, but I'm going to skip that one and I'm going to play the 12th fret, which is our second note of the scale, or because it's higher here, we call it the 9th. And so I'm going to play the 9th, which is the 12th fret of the 4th string. And then I'll come back down and play 9 on my 4th string, 10 on my 5th string, 12 on my 6th string, and then 8 on my 6th string. And that's the arpeggio. So now we have to put these two things together. So what we're going to do is we're going to play up and down the major scale and then play the arpeggio up and down right after. And it's going to sound like this. Okay. Now here's what we're going to do. That is the basis of the entire warm-up. But what we're going to do is we're going to move this in 2 different keys. So we're not just going to play it in C major. We're going to play it in all 12 keys, okay, by moving it around the circle of fifths. Now, if you don't know what the circle of fifths is right now, don't worry about that. We're going to do another video on that and explain it and make it really simple. But the next place that we're going to do is we're going to play the same thing, but now we're going to do it in the key of F major. Now, here's the cool thing. My C note is right here on the 6th string 8th fret, and F major is right here on the 5th string 8th fret. So we're going to start right there and play the same thing. So this is actually going to be the exact same pattern, only now I'm going to be using my 5th string, my 4th string, and my 3rd string, but the fingering, the pattern, it all remains the same. So for F major, I'm going to be on 8 on my 5th string, and then 10, and then 12. And then on the next string, on my 4th string, I'm going to play 8, and then 10, and then 12. Same fingering, 1st, 2nd, 4th, okay? Using my 1st finger, my middle finger, and my pinky for all of this. And then on my 3rd string, I'm going to do the 9th fret with my 1st finger, and then the 10th fret with my 2nd finger, and then 12 with my pinky again. And then I'll walk back down. And then I'll do the arpeggio, and the arpeggio is exactly the same. I'm going to do 8, and then 12, and then 10 on the next string, and then 9 on the next string, and then 12 on that same string, and walk backwards. So for F major, it's going to sound like this. Not bad, right? So it's the exact same thing, but now we're playing it in a different position and starting from another string. So this is good because this is going to help you learn. This is where F is on the fretboard, and you can start your F major scale there, or any other scales that you know, and you'll be in the key of F. Now we're going to continue moving around the circle of fifths, but we're going backwards around the circle of fifths. So we started at C, and then we went to F, now we're going to go to B flat, which B flat is the 6th fret on my 6th string. So I'm moving 2 frets lower on my 6th string, and that will sound like this. It's the exact same pattern. It's just instead of starting on 8, we're starting on 6. So I'll do 6, and then 8, and then 10, and then change strings and do 6, 8, 10, and then change strings and do 7, and then 8, and then 10. The arpeggio, which is 6, and then 10, and then 8, and then 7, and then 10, 7, 8, 10, 6. So that's it for B flat. Then we're going to move to E flat, which E flat is also on the 6th fret of my 5th string. So it's just going to be like F, except we slide down 2 frets and we start on 6 instead of 8. So for E flat, I'm going to do 6, 8, 10, 6, 8, 10, 7, 8, 10, 8, 7, 10, 8, 6, 10, 8, 6, and then the arpeggio, which is 6, So all together, so far we have this. We have C, F, B flat, E flat, and that will sound like this. And so that is the first 4 scales and arpeggios that we're going to play for this warm up. Now let's pause for just a second and talk about why the heck are we doing scales like this? I mean, that doesn't sound very exciting. Why are we using them for a warm up? Well, here's why. One, we're working multiple things. You're working on your picking, you're working on your fretting hand technique, you're working on your fretboard knowledge, your music theory, your scale knowledge, and training your ear all at the same time with this warm up. So you're working stuff in your brain and in your hands. But here's the big kicker. Scales like this actually happen in music. Okay, so stuff like the 1, 2, 3, 4. That doesn't very often happen in actual real music, and it doesn't sound musical either. So this way, you're at least training your ear to recognize and hear the major scale. You're learning the positions of all these different notes on different places on the fretboard. And you're learning this major scale because you're playing it over and over and over in all these different keys. Same with the arpeggio. And then that scale and the arpeggio actually happens in real music. So there's all sorts of benefits to doing this. But the biggest one is because this actually gives you a framework to use in real songs. Okay, so back to our warm up. After E flat, we're going to go down to A flat, which is the 4th fret of your 6th string, and we're going to do the same thing. Now, I'm not going to go note by note, but I'm just going to show you what A flat is because it's the exact same fingering, exact same pattern that we've played before for C and for B flat. So now it's going to go like this for A flat. Then for the next one, we're going to go to D flat, which is the 4th fret on my 5th string. And it's still the same pattern. We're just changing strings, and then it's going to sound like this. Now we're going to go down to F sharp, which F sharp, or you could do G flat. I don't care which one you call it. F sharp is the 2nd fret on your 6th string, and it will sound like this. And then next we have B. So B is going to be the 2nd fret on your 5th string. Now this is where things are actually going to change just a little bit, because now we're going to go to E major, but instead of playing it open, which I guess you could do, what we're going to do is we're going to stay on that 5th string and slide up to your 7th fret for E up here, okay? And so when starting on the 7th fret of your 5th string for E, we're going to get this. And then from E, we're going to go to A, which we're going to go back to your 6th string for and start it on the 5th fret right here. And then from A, we're going to go to D, which is also the 5th fret, but on your 5th string, okay? So we're going to start right there, 5th fret, 5th string for D, and that will sound like this. And then after D, we're going to go to the 3rd fret on your 6th string for G, and that will sound like this. And then after G, we're going to go to our final one, which is C major again, but now we're doing C in a different position. Instead of being up here on the 8th fret of your 6th string, we're going to do it on the 3rd fret of your 5th string, and it'll sound like this. And that is the whole warm up. All you do is you play through all 12 of those scales and arpeggios, one after another. And that's going to get you all around the fretboard and get your hand warmed up and get your brain warmed up a little bit and make it a whole lot easier. So let's actually zoom in a little bit so that you can see my hands a little bit better. And I'll play through the whole warm up for you so that you can hear the whole thing. Okay, so here we are zoomed in, and I'm going to play through the whole warm up for you starting right here on C. Now, a quick note about the fingering for this, we are just using your first, your second, and your fourth for the entire thing. Okay, no third finger gets used. But here's the trick. Let's look at this in A major right here. I want to use my first finger here, but then there's a stretch from that 5th fret to the 7th fret for my second finger, right? So what you actually do is you position your thumb behind your middle finger. If my middle finger is going to play the 7th fret here, that's where I want my thumb to be as well. And then what I'm doing is, instead of trying to stretch my pinky up like this, I'm actually stretching my first finger backwards, okay? And if you do that, it's a lot easier to take your first finger and move it back than it is to take your pinky and move it up, okay? So put your thumb behind your middle finger, stretch your first finger back. And that will help you with that reach between 5, 7, 9, or 8, 10, 12, right? Or 2, 4, and 6. That's a big stretch. So thumb behind your middle finger, stretch your first finger back. And that, if you practice that, that stretch is going to get a whole lot easier for you. Okay, so that is the close-up of how you play the whole warm-up. I hope that was good for you, and I hope that helped you understand it and see how it all kind of fits together. But here's the thing. Right now, in this video and in the PDF for you at simpleguitar.com/warmup, I'm only doing this with the major scale. But here's the trick. You can do this with other scales. You can do this with the minor scale, and you can do it with the Dorian, the Mixolydian, the Lydian, the Phrygian, the Locrian, the harmonic minor, whatever other scales you know, you can do the same thing. You can play the circle of fifths through any of these using the same pattern. Now, we're only playing 9 notes. So for example, if I did the minor scale, then it would sound and look like this. And then I would take that to all 12 positions. Right? And so that's how it would be if I were doing this with minor. Or if I was doing this with Dorian, then it would be like this. Or if I did Mixolydian, let's continue with B flat, but I'm going to do Mixolydian, and it would sound like this. Right? So I'm just playing the first 9 notes of the scale and then doing the arpeggio through those 9 notes as well. And you can do this with any of those scales. Now, here's the thing. If you spend a few minutes a day using this warm-up, it's going to be good for your guitar playing. It's going to be good for your fretting hand, for your picking hand, for your fretboard knowledge, and it's going to help you with ear training. It's going to be really, really good for you. It's going to help you memorize the circle of fifths too, which if you still don't know what that is, we'll do another video about the circle of fifths and make it really simple for you, but it's going to help you understand all of these things a whole lot better. So there's a lot happening at once. So you're getting benefits in multiple areas of your guitar playing instead of just a finger warm up like this. Now, the other thing that you could do for a great warm-up, this is something that I love to do, is I will take like a song that I like that uses my fingers a lot, so I have to warm up my fingers, and I'll play the song. So like I've had students do Crazy Train for warm-ups where they're... I like to do Plug-in Baby by Muse, actually. See, that's just a fun song, and it works because I get my fingers involved. I have to think about it. It works as a warm-up too. So you can also take your favorite songs and make those into warm-ups if they're active enough. Now, the other thing that you could do is instead of playing the scale straight, another thing that you could do with scales is play scale sequences. And I'm not going to talk a whole lot about it today because that's a whole other video. We could talk a long time about that. But what you do is you play the notes of the scale in a different sequence, in a different order, and it would sound something like this. And that way you have to think about it as well. So there's lots of different scale sequences that you could do that would also be great for your warm-up. Now, like I said, in this, we're only doing the major scale, but you can apply it to other scales. But you can also change the position. As you're memorizing the notes on your fretboard, you can play C. You could start C here. You could start the whole thing here. And go to F here. And when you get to E and A, you can do them open. Same with D. Right? Whatever you want to do, you can change where you're going, but keep it in the same order. You could repeat it and play the second time in different positions than you did the first time as well. And then if you want to be really good, you try to do all of this in one position. Okay. So you do C, F, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, right? And you go through the whole cycle, but you try to stay in one position. And that's a lot of fun too. So there's a lot of different stuff that you can do with this, but this is a great warm up for you just to start out with. You get your scales down, you get your fretboard knowledge, you get your fretting hand technique, you get your picking technique, you get some ear training. There's so many benefits to doing this. So go to simpleguitar.com/warmup, download the free tab of the warm-up and use that every day for a few minutes, and it's going to help you out. But that's it today, guys. So have fun with the warm-up. Thanks for watching the video. If it helped you out, hit the like button for me. That helps me out. If you have questions about this, leave a comment down below, and I will catch you in the next video.